Not sure how to market yourself as an instructional designer? Are you unsure if specializing is just going to narrow down your pool? Well, don't worry, friends. I've got you. In this video, we're going to talk all about being a generalist versus a specialist. Hi friends, my name is Vanessa Alzate, the founder and CEO of Anchored Training, and on this channel, we help instructional designers and e-learning developers just like you level up, not only in instructional design, but also in business. And so today, like I mentioned earlier, we're talking all about generalizing versus specializing. And I'm not gonna sit here and make it seem like I am some sort of expert that knows all the things, that's perfect at this. I am working through and really have niched down a lot over the last year. Like, as much as I thought I was niched down before, I kept niching down. And I think that going to the ETD conference in Salt Lake City really helped open my eyes to the need to niche down even more and really become a specialist and known for something other than just being able to create custom learning solutions. And picking a specific business size wasn't gonna also be it. It really needed to be something that I really narrowed down. So you might be asking yourself, what is specializing? So specializing is really narrowing down your focus of what your offer is or what the services that you provide, either by an industry or by a particular service. So let's say by industry, you create instructional design solutions for the construction industry. Or you create, if you're gonna do it by service, you are a micro-learning, you are the go-to for micro-learning, or you're the go-to for gamification. You're the go-to for virtual instructor-led training, although that's still a little bit broad. So why would you even think about doing that? Well, you really want to make sure that you become the go-to person in that service or industry for instructional design. Again, you want to figure out a way to stand out in the sea of instructional designers on LinkedIn, or that resumes come in, or when someone has a need, they automatically think of a certain person. And so, for example, if I think about, scenario-based training and branch scenarios, the person that I think of immediately is Christy Tucker. So if I am, an organization that wants to create scenario-based training and I Google it, Christy Tucker is going to be one of the top people that come up if I don't already know her name. Or someone that is in my, circle already knows her name. And they're gonna go directly to Christy to ask her if she's available because she is the go-to person for scenario-based training. And if she's not available, then who would she recommend that does the same thing? So that's what you want to become. You want to become the go-to person. And what I see so often in instructional design, and I made the same mistake because I say this all the time too, or I did, is that you can really create training for anyone and on anything. You just need access to content, a subject matter expert, and you own the learning process and the instructional design process. And that's all great and good, but that's not going to get you high up on the list. When someone goes into Google to look for an instructional designer, all these other big names are gonna come up. And so you really want to think about, specializing. And it's a really hard process. And like I said, it took me like a year to really narrow down what I like. And what I wanted our business to be known for. And I really narrowed it down to onboarding. I love onboarding. I was an onboarding specialist in my past life. I love bringing in someone, helping to assimilate them into culture, and doing all the things and putting together a training plan and onboarding plan to help them be successful in their job. That's so much fun for me. And it's, gives me the ability to be creative. You can use different mediums and different learning, modalities and things like that. And you can really like create this whole vision and really set someone off like on the right path to really do more for themselves, do better in their life, better at their job, and become a happier person because they're really excited about where they work. And so, yeah, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent about how much I love onboarding, but that's what we're really specializing. Yes, I can create training on just about anything and everything, but this is really where we want to spend our time, hone our craft, and really maximize our efforts with our clients. So how do you go through this process of specializing? Well, as a new instructional designer, I do think that you need to spend time being a generalist. You need to put your foot in the door, get experience in different perhaps industries, and that's where freelancing can really come into play. So if you're a full-time instructional designer in one industry and you want to maybe dabble in some others, freelancing on the side and picking up a side project here or there with an agency could be a really great way to do that, to see if it's an industry that you even want to work in. So you want to be able to pick up maybe some stretch projects here and there, maybe on some different tools that you could use. Maybe if you've never done e-learning, you want to pick up a couple of e-learning projects to get those under your belt to see if that's really something that you want to specialize in. Maybe, I know someone who is my go-to person for accessibility. And anytime that I have, a question on accessibility, someone is looking for someone who's an accessibility expert, I go to her. Or if it needs to be part of a project plan that I'm working on, I budget my funds and the project, and I budget for having her be part of that, or someone that she refers, to me in order to do that piece of the project. And that is, something that you might want to get involved in, right? So you might want to get more into accessibility and making learning accessible. Well, that is definitely a huge need, and it's just going to become bigger. So it's definitely something that you can consider too. But again, figuring out ways to pick up some side projects here and there so you can pick up other experiences is a great way to just get some different projects and some different areas of ID under your tool belt. Something that you want to do for a little bit, but not something that's really going to have a ton of longevity for you in the long haul. Can you make a really great living being a generalist? Absolutely. And you can really, build up your portfolio, build up your book of business, just doing things, repeat through word of mouth and things like that. But in order to scale and grow and really be able to hone in on your marketing and make a name for yourself, I think that's where specializing is really key and really important. So when you start thinking about specializing, you're going to want to, start thinking about all of the experiences then that you have, right? All these side projects that you picked up, these stretch projects, past companies that you worked with, and what is it that you liked and what didn't you like? And that can really start to craft, some areas that you might want to specialize in. If you hate creating e-learning, that probably shouldn't be part of your specialty. You should be able to outsource that part of a project if it needs to be part of part of your project, or know who to turn to offer that service or refer someone. But don't sell it. You want to create a business and a life for yourself in instructional design that you want to be part of, that you want to do, right? So if you don't like something, don't make it part of your specialty or part of your services or offerings. And so, yeah, you just want to think about like all the different experiences that you have, what you liked, what you didn't like, and what makes you really excited. What makes you just jump out of bed and really think about, what is like your superpower, right? So what is it that you're really good at and you can do without even like a question? And that can be all part of your specialty, because if you're really good at it, it comes really easily to you, then you're going to just naturally want to do more in it, want to get better at that. You'll learn more about, you'll experiment more in that area, and you really can craft really fun, engaging learning experiences in that specialty. Or if you really love an industry, that's a great place to specialize. So you might want to be able to do e-learning and instructor-led training and VILT and, creating documentation, like all the things, right, as an instructional designer. But maybe you want to do it for a specific industry, right? So an industry that maybe I would want to specialize in, or could have been an area that I specialized in, is pharmaceuticals. I've work with a lot of pharma companies. I speak the language. I know their struggles. I can tell you a lot about pharma and pharma reps and their day-to-day. And I'm able to really connect with pharma reps because I know so much about it. I've worked so much with them. I've heard so many of their stories, met so many that sometimes they say to me, it sounds like you were a pharma rep in a past life, or you know what I mean? And that is really great because so often when someone wants to hire an instructional designer or hire someone to create their training, they know it's going to take time to onboard that new vendor or training company. But one thing that they look for is, do you know my industry? Do you know the ins and the outs? Do you know the struggles that we have, our pain points? And that really can set you apart and make or break whether or not you're going to get that project because you know the industry. So the other great thing about specializing in an industry is that those industries are generally small. And especially in pharma, like I know I've mentioned in the past videos, I will jump on one call one week and then the next week someone that I was on a call with from the week before is on that call because they moved companies, because they jumped from company to company. So it's definitely something that is nice if you're a specialist, because when they jump from company to company, if you're that go-to person from that one company, they're going to remember that and say, oh, Vanessa was really great at creating training for our pharma reps. She really spoke the language. I need to do that now at this company. I'm going to call Vanessa up and see if they're available. And that's how you get continued repeat business and word of mouth. And also really helps you craft your messaging. So when you show up on LinkedIn and when you start to think about your marketing strategy as an instructional designer, you can really speak to your ideal client, right? Because you can speak to their pain points. So you know the industry you want to work in, or you know the service that you want to be a specialist in. Well, you can speak to that and you can talk about the pain points of not using, that service, or why it's, such an invaluable tool for a business. If you speak to an industry, you can talk about, for example, about onboarding, you talk about the constant hiring because people never feel like they fit, or they just feel like they're lost and there's so many questions, or they're virtual and they miss that water cooler chat and things like that. How do you create this culture virtually and make sure people are onboarded properly? So you really can speak to that in your LinkedIn messages, articles that you might write on LinkedIn, maybe, copy for your website, your portfolio. So this is next level stuff. This is when you take your portfolio, your original portfolio, and that you got a few clients under your belt, you take that portfolio and say, okay, that's phase 1 portfolio, phase 2 portfolio. These are samples that are going to speak to my ideal client and the pain points that, that they have, or things that they might need. So maybe if you work for a specific industry like construction and they need a certain type of e-learning module every single year, then you may create a sample speaking to that. Or if you create a facilitator guide that speaks to an instructor-led training that you've done for that industry, and that's part of your portfolio. So you see how you're really taking the guesswork out of, is this the person for me? If I am a hiring manager in the construction field and I am looking for an instructional designer that speaks construction, a field that everyone thinks that their industry is so no one can speak it, you really have to understand it, it's so different. It's not. Well, if I'm looking for that instructional designer, that training team that's going to really speak to me, then you're the one that I'm going to go to. You're speaking my language. You're saying the same things that I do. When I talk in shorthand, you're going to understand it because you've done the work, you've done the homework of understanding our industry. People remember that, and that's what keeps getting you referred. And while you're fishing in a smaller pool, it's actually a deeper pool, because you really can create more opportunity for yourself as you are working with these within this industry, within providing this service. So as opposed to like casting this wide net and just be like, I can create training for anyone. Well, that doesn't, no, like it's hard for people to be able to refer you, and you don't have a really deep understanding of someone's business or a service, or been able to take that service and apply it in a few different areas and come up with different, case studies or, strategies when you come up against this hiccup or this roadblock. If you've really narrowed down on a service, you're able to develop this really deep understanding of how to adjust that service based on roadblocks. So when you come up against it with a new client, it's like, you know what, we dealt with something similar for this client. I know just the thing that'll help get us moving. It's really a cool place to be. And it helps you figure out where you show up, right? So it's really great to show up on LinkedIn, but if you're only talking to other instructional designers, other instructional designers are not always going to be the ones that hire you for a job. You need to get in front of the decision makers that are going to hire you for a job. So now, if you know who it is that you're going to be talking to because you're a specialist, by industry or, generally the type of, ideal like client avatar. So I know we haven't talked about that today, but give this video a thumbs up if you want me to go in depth on developing a client avatar. And this is what I use when we're crafting our marketing messaging. And I can definitely do that video next to complement this one. But you really think about that client avatar, and that's who you're going to be searching for to connect with on LinkedIn. So you broaden your LinkedIn network, and you're not in the same vortex. And you're showing up in groups that your ideal client's showing up in. You are using hashtags that your ideal client is looking to use, you know what I mean, or looking through. It really, really, really helps you know where to show up, what conferences, what networking events, what marketing groups, what LinkedIn groups really helps you show up so that you are front of mind, front of line, and you're not in a huge sea of instructional designers. If you go to a conference that is for, construction, you will not meet that many other instructional designers. You'll be one of the few. You can be memorable. And then that's how you continue to get clients. You continue to get your book of business. So what I have for you is a worksheet to help you figure out what your specialty is and how to get from generalist to specialist. And I will link that down below. And if you're ready to take that next step into instructional design, make sure you click the link below to download my free 6-step blueprint to break into freelance L&D success. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.